My name is Chad Daly. I work here at the Marathon County Public Library, and I'm one of the organizers of the Central Wisconsin Book Festival. We are very happy today to have Dasha Kelly Hamilton with us to talk about writing and share some of her expertise in writing with all of you. And we'll just take a short detour. We have just a very short video to share with you, and we will be back right after this to get things underway. Hello, and welcome to the 2021 Central Wisconsin Book Festival. Before we begin, we would like to thank those organizations and businesses that helped make this year's festival possible.
Presenting sponsors and benefactors this year are
the Community Arts Grant Program and Community Foundation of North Central Wisconsin,
with funds provided by the Wisconsin Arts Board,
the Community Foundation,
the B.A. and Esther Greenhack Foundation,
the Marathon County Public Library Foundation,
Ruderware,
and the Co-Vantage Cares Foundation.
Our 2021 sustainers are Wisconsin Humanities,
with funds from the National Endowment for the Humanities,
the Portage County Public Library Foundation.
Other supporters include
the Marathon County Public Library,
the Portage County Public Library,
Macmillan Memorial Library,
the Friends of the Marathon County Public Library,
the Marathon County Historical Society,
Whitewater Music Hall,
Wisconsin Public Radio,
and Yankee Bookstore.
Thank you so much to all of our sponsors and supporters.
And thanks to you.
Thanks to you.
And thanks to you.
And thank you to you.
Thanks to you.
all of our authors, all of our readers,
And thanks to you for being part of the Central Wisconsin Book Festival.
All right, well, Dasha Kelly Hamilton, welcome. For those who don't know a little bit more about her, she is a writer, performance artist. Hold on, I'm sorry. Oh boy, I keep letting that happen. So Dasha is a writer, performance artist, curator, facilitator, creative change agent. She's a novelist, a poet, spoken word artist. She's been all over the world as a teacher and arts envoy. There isn't a whole lot that she hasn't done. So we are very happy to have her with us today. And we have a relatively small group with us today. So you folks are lucky to have her full attention. So Dasha, I will hand it off to you. Welcome and thank you very much for being here today.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for having me here. And anytime I'm able to be in partnership with libraries virtually or in the building, I'm definitely on board to make that happen. And I welcome all of you who've taken out the time to spend a little lunchtime perhaps with me. So I'm looking, let's see, Cheryl, Kathleen, Cassie, and Adrian. I hope you're ready to scribble a little bit. So this experience is going to I'll be talking, I'll have the pen square for those of you who do Zooms all the time. But definitely this session is about telling a little bit about my work, a little bit about my journey, but a lot about us. And us is meaning that in so many different ways. So it's an opportunity for you to scribble. So I'm going to invite you, if you don't already, have something nearby that you can write with and write on. And my story, this is real because biology. So every now and again, you'll see me break my fan out. It's not just because I'm a diva, but because inside of my body is hot because menopause is stupid. And outside of that TMI, I am a creative change agent. And by that, over my journey, I started understanding that all of the work that I've done, from being a teacher, being a writer, being a performer, curating programs, doing community outreach, and / continues, all of those endeavors were to the goal of improving social wellness. All of us can only use the tools that we have, even the ones that we acquire. And my tools are all creative. My tools are all finding ways to fall into conversations that are unexpected. My tools are empowering people to speak their truth. And my tools are finding unique ways to enter familiar conversations. So I'm honored to be able to, while I'm here in the area, I'm also working with students at UW Stevens Point. So I was able to work with a group of a class yesterday and remind them, hey, listen, you need to be really clear about how you work. There are going to be plenty of forces and people and experiences that are going to make you question who you are and how you work. But some protocol and some baselines, this is where we build those all in. So thank you for those who are joining right now. I'm asking everyone to please have something nearby to write on and write with. Oh, let's see. I have this moment where I have two sessions that I have pulled up. I had the session I was planning to do, and I'm responding to this energy that maybe plan two, not B, but plan two may be the way to go. I'm going to pick on Kelly Fleming. All I want you to do is just say one or two. And you are now officially in charge, Kelly.
Two.
Here we go. Thank you. Share my screen here. So this is going to be an experience. And this is both of the, we weren't going to go wrong with either of these directions. And this particular, move out of the way, Zoom thing. And this module is something that I initially created when we were all initially cooped. So it's something that I committed to do, creating an experience where people are able just to come together and be creative. Just to come together and write, just to come together and scribble. In my journey, it's been interesting where often because you like to write or you like to dance or you play the guitar a little bit, the next question is, well, when is your book coming out? When are you going on tour? When are you gonna take this painting and put it in a gallery? Or maybe I just like this art. Maybe I just want this experience. Maybe this just feeds my soul. So create an experience for folks to come together and feed our souls in a way that doesn't have to be shared out in public. You're not going to go on tour, or maybe you will, but this is entirely for you. And it's also structured in a way where we're able to kind of trade some unexpected advice with one another and inspire each other in the moment, strangers though we may be. And the biggest piece of it is at the end of this, you're going to have a piece of paper that is full of notes and a mess. As long as your journal is a mess, you're doing the right thing. So you're going to have notes that you can write on later. You're going to have the beginnings of scribblings that you can share with others. We're going to have a chance to fall into really short conversations because we also need that human impact. So the session is called Playpens, because we do just that. We're playing and we're scribbling along the way. And also, I'm hoping it's going to plant some seeds of thought that will carry with you as well. So the first thing I want to know how we're going to play is you're going to keep an open note page. So whether you're working with an actual piece of paper or you have another tab that's open, so you just want to keep a page that's open. And again, along the way, I'm going to say things that I will particularly ask you to scribble or make a note about, but moreover, I'm hoping that you're going to, anything that you hear, something that I say and some of the media that you see in the conversations that you have with each other, things that are curious, if it makes you go, write it down. If it makes you sit back, write it down. And again, like I mentioned, you're going to have this notebook full of never random concepts. So we're in the same vehicle, but we're all taking a different ride. In my journey of working in this creative space, one of the things I find most exciting is using the creative process as a way of reminding folks of how incredible you already are. And that's easy to say, and then also easy to dampen when you have people wanting to be creative and they're doing it in the same space. Because human nature tells us to compare ourselves to what's happening around us. That's kind of how we figured out kindergarten, how in kindergarten your household was different than everyone else's. So we are going to be having the same experience. But for you, if this is taking you to a space of reflection, that's what the experience is for you. If for someone else, this is you're more analytical, or it's bringing you to a very specific piece of work to create or conversations, that's what the experience is for you. So along the way, understanding the process of being inspired is step one. And writing overall is a process. And we all, myself included, we like to have it all happen in one sitting. Be inspired, write the thing, have it edited as you write it, and fall in love with it once you get done with that 20 minutes you spent. And that's just not how writing works. So this is the part of brewing up the ideas. And your ideas obviously will be different from the ones around you. And they're never wrong. So there also are no answers or assignments. The only task is to keep giving yourself those notes so that you're not relying on yourself to remember that not random thing that was said. And the assignments are just, hopefully you'll go back and you'll continue to flesh out the language and the ideas that make sense for you. So there's no way to do it wrong. That's the other piece I've learned in this work. When I first started going into classrooms, I would ask the classroom, how many of you know that you have good ideas? And a third of them would raise their hand, which you would expect in high school, but not in fifth grade, not for third graders, not for kindergartners. And when I'm working with adults, executive professionals, let's say that there's a right way to get this done, and there isn't a right way to get this done. So secondly, the last thing I would like you to ask you to do is to challenge your habits. If you tend to overthink, challenge yourself to just let things flow. If you always write poetry, maybe you want to lean into a narrative, a more of a prose piece. If you always work in lists or you always work in prose, challenge yourself just to work a little bit outside of what's comfortable. And this is part of our play. Some of the research that I did in understanding why teachers continue to call, and for me, why this work, what this work meant, what I wanted this work to mean, is the idea of play and the idea of creating creates a different sort of confidence. So in all of the 20 years that I've been doing this work, it's really not been to necessarily deputize new poets or even to create new writers, but this is my tool. So using writing in the creative process as a way to getting to the other things on the other side of challenge, other side of emotions, on the other side of strategic planning, or just on the other side of this moment. This is a gift you get to give back to yourself. So offer questions to yourself, to the group. I'll be doing my best to monitor the chat thread. We'll have times to check in along the way. And the other thing, and when this work that I've been doing began to evolve, and now these schools I'm going to, and I've taught in every class from kindergarten to graduate school. So I'm going to visit the high school classes, and the high school students, once they graduate, stayed in my phone, which then became an internship, teaching them how to hold space, how to develop workshops, how to consider their creative brains as a superpower, which became a fellowship, how to use all of that confidence and go out into the world and be amazing girl. So in that space, the first thing we do, the bridge from high school students to our interns, was spending a lot of time with questions. We are conditioned to search for right answers. And we would actually be better served if we were encouraged to ask more questions. So don't be afraid of the questions that pop into your mind. And lastly, write, don't edit. Again, writing is a process. If I'm on my job, I will say this at least 4 more times before we're done today. Writing is a process. This is the part where we're writing. Editing happens later. All right, ready? So the first bit is going to be a bit jarring. It's going to seem like a lot for the first part of our experience, but I promise everything comes together. And again, just sit back, let the ideas flow, put them on your page, and let's see where this thing goes.
The Spirit is speaking with his God. He will see what future will become. In his vision, all in their way will fall. Before the mighty warrior, the ritual of love is the gift. To the spirits of the sea, they will help us reach the place of our glory. Through the sea, through fire, through honorable death and fighting, we will come to the sacred land. Nothing stops us, nothing breaks us, no power elevates us in the cold halls of our heart.
I mean, why not start with Vikings? Why not? So I'm going to ask for you to plop into your open up a tab and put in Valhalla. Of course, I can tell you what it means. Of course, I can tell you what it means. And I will, but I'd like for you to just do a quick search. What comes up on your screen? So the question would be, I want you to think about the elements of Valhalla. So my definition of Valhalla, it is the Viking heaven. And in the Norse mythology, you have Odin, who is the Zeus of that particular pantheon. And think about the idea where there's a regular afterlife, there's a heaven for regular folks, and there's a different afterlife for warriors. And in any culture, throughout any history, the idea, these things that come into our mythology obviously become part of our priorities, become part of the culture. So a culture of victory, of warriorship, and that is where you get to the VIP heaven if you are a soldier and you are a warrior. So what are these elements of Valhalla? There's a pride, there's a legacy, there's a reward. And I'd like to ask you this question, and this is what I'd like for you to scribble about. What is a modern Valhalla? Right? So it could be people giving of themselves, sacrificing of themselves to a religious point once they make it to the university, once they get that handbag, once they have that trophy wife, once they retire. It could be 1,000 ways, good, bad, indifferent, and everything in the middle. We're going to do a timed write. And with that, you just start going until I ask you to stop. And again, we're not editing as we write. We're just letting these ideas flow. We'll go back and tinker with them later. So right now, the idea of Valhalla, the elements of Valhalla, what's a modern day Valhalla for you or for someone you know, for society in general, or all of the above? If hopefully everybody's ready to go now, go now.
Every night you'd come to me
You don't have to end it, but find a comfortable place where you can stop. A few more seconds. All right, deep breath. I'd like you to, again, put Valkyrie into your search engine. I know. Right, I know. So the Valkyries, also in this mythology, they are, I don't want to say servants, but they work with this god Odin, and their job is to identify warriors in battle who are worthy of going to Valhalla. And if you remember in the video, there was a part where the one warrior with the really blue eyes was looking up in the sky, and you looks like there were a bunch of crows, bunch of birds that were flocking. Those were actually the Valkyries. And the Valkyries came down, and they're these strong women, and they're muscular, and they're warriors, and they're vicious, and that is their job. And they swoop down and they select, again, these warriors. And this the warrior who was looking in the sky, on one hand, grateful to still be around, but on the other hand, again, in this culture where the ideal is to be selected for this honor, almost wishing that he'd been selected as well, but you have to fall in honor in battle. So again, just something to think about as an interesting element, cultural element. Leave it there for the moment. But my question is this: if you think about this particular soldier, on one hand, he's lived to fight another day. And if he has a partner and children and friends, they'll be happy to see him come back at the end of that day. So the Valkyrie taking him would be an interception, or is it an intercession if he had been whisked away as a warrior? I'd like for you to think of your Valkyrie moments where you swooped in to save the day and ended up making a mess, or you were swooped in upon when you really had it all together, best of that person's intentions. And the Valkyrie role, whether it worked out or didn't work out on the receiving or the swooping end, I'd like for you to think of a Valkyrie moment, and we're going to go into groups, and you'll each have a few minutes just to tell that story. I think I have to, what do I have to do? There we go. I found it.
You got it? Yeah.
I think so.
Down at the bottom. Yeah, let's see. Yep, you can let participants choose or, okay, yep. There you go.
So how do I know Zoom's been around forever now. There's always something else.
If you hover your arrow over everyone's name, then you can click assign to, and I think you can then put them into specific rooms.
Thank you. It's coming together.
I learned something myself today. I haven't dealt much with breakout rooms, so.
Thanks for believing in me. Okay. I think everyone is in a room. Yes. So you should have a request to join a room, just accept it, and then you'll be Yes. So Kelly, if you accept the room. So there should be something you can push. I have you. It's just waiting for you to join, Kelly.
Sorry, I got out of there for a second. I'm just trying to figure out how to get back in. I usually
Oh, no worries.
dig,
I think
so I'm usually on the other side.
I see. Yeah, me too, right? So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna slide you. I don't know how to put you back in that room, so I'm gonna put you in a different room.
Somehow I'm still here.
I know.
Oh, here. I got it.
Is
I
it
got
not
it.
giving you a signal?
I have it. I think I see it now. Thanks.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, so everybody's in their assigned rooms, it looks like.
Yes, they're good. And we go till 2:30 or 2:45?
Whatever you want, 2:45 is fine, 2:30, whatever.
Promoted as.
I think, yeah, I mean, we listed it as going till 2:30. I mean, if it goes past that, that's okay with us. We don't have an event immediately after this one, so,
Okay.
yep, we're good.
Okay, I won't rush. Thanks.
Mother in the spring, her branches cradle sleeping birds, yawning open, welcome by an day. He greets them fondly. With memories of when their balls were arms that held as a younger man. Together they would march the birth of springtime. Mother stands beneath the apple blossoms every year where they used to go walking.
We have one group that's returning to us.
Winter in his heart, the apple blossom. In summer they would dream of being free and smile. They're turning around as the apples on the ground. That fall they loved and waited. But winter came too soon. Before their seed could bloom, she wilted from the June, and all felt cold and still.
Excellent. We have everybody back with us now. We're going to keep this party here rolling. All right. Oh, I love this part.
Frankie and Johnny were sweethearts, and oh, what a couple in love. Frankie was loyal to Johnny, just as true as the stars above. He was her man, but he was doing wrong. Now Frankie went down to the drugstore, some ice cream she wanted to buy, and the soda jerk told her that Johnny was making love to Nellie Bly. He was her man, but he was doing her wrong. Now Frankie's dad was a policeman, so she stole his old .44 gun, and then back to the drugstore she beat it just as fast as she could run after the man who was doing her wrong. And Frankie peeked in on the party. She got a surprise when she saw Nellie and Johnny were making love and sipping soda through a straw.
Not sipping soda through a straw. We got problems now. Now we have problems.
But he was doing her wrong. So Frankie flew into a tantrum, and she whipped out that long .44, and a root-toot-toot that gal did shoot through that hardwood swinging door. She shot her man, 'cause he was doing her wrong. So bring on your crepe and your flowers, and bring on your rubber-tired hack, 'cause there's 8 men to go to the graveyard, but only 7 are a-coming back. She got her man, 'cause he was doing her wrong. So this is the end of my story.
So the story of Frankie and Johnny is actually a real story. So this is Frankie. She was 21 years old and she lived, Frankie and Johnny lived in St. Louis. And some stories, Johnny, whose name was Albert, but depending on who you talk to, depending on how you classified it, they were a couple or Johnny was her pimp. In either way, she felt some ownership and felt some kind of way about Johnny in this other relationship he was in. And the story became the fantastical news, as you can imagine, of the day. The story of this love triangle, this murder, and it was in the newspaper. And this story was turned into a ballet. It was turned into a theater. It was actually re-recorded. It's been recorded 250 times. And Frankie and Johnny was sweet along the way. Then, this is my story. And no one believed that it was her story. And Frankie ended up moving to Washington State, where she died penniless in a mental institution.
$700, and I owe it all to her.
You owe it all to me. The idea of who owns whose story is what I, back up, not this fast, is what I'd like for you to take a moment and scribble on now. Just that idea of who owns your story. What happens when your story is co-opted? And is that something that actually is a thing? Depending on who you talk to, it's a serious thing. So this is a narrative that escaped from her hands and has been, again, monetized, capitalized, and dramatized over and over and over again. In some cases, your story does belong to the world because we are of the world. So it's not a judgment, it's not a right or wrong. So just take a moment and just scribble that idea of owning your story. And there's a Sam Cooke version that is not available right now, and I wish you could hear it. I'm sorry. And more than narrative, I want to be mindful of time. I'm going to keep you maybe 5 minutes over, but definitely just make some notes. Make that journal a mess about the idea of owning a story. More music, here we go.
I tried to change. Closed my mouth more. Tried to be softer, prettier, less awake. Fasted for 60 days. Wore white. Abstained from mirrors. Abstained from sex. Slowly did not speak another word. In that time, my hair I grew past my ankles. I slept on a mat on a floor. I swallowed a sword. I levitated. Went to the basement, confessed my sins, and was baptized in a river. Got on my knees and said amen and said I mean. I whipped my own back and asked for dominion at your feet. I threw myself into a volcano. I drank the blood and drank the wine. I sat alone and begged and bent at the waist for God. I crossed myself and thought I saw the devil. I grew thickened skin on my feet. I bathed in bleach and plugged my menses with pages from the holy book, but still inside me, coiled deep, was the need to know. Are you cheating on me? Are you cheating on me? love you like I love you. Slow down, they don't love you like I love you. Back up, they don't love you like I love you. Step down, they don't love you like I love you. Can't you see there's no other man above you? What a wicked way to treat the girl that loves you. Oh, love, they don't love you like I love you. Oh, down, they don't love you like I love you. Something don't feel right because it ain't right, especially coming up after midnight. I smell your secrets, and I'm not too perfect to ever feel this worthless. How did it come down to this? Scrolling through your call list. I don't wanna lose my pride, but I'ma fuck me up a bitch. Know that I kept it sexy, and know I kept it fun. There's something that I'm missing, maybe my head for one. What's worst, looking jealous or crazy, jealous or crazy? Or like being walked all over lately, walked all over lately. I'd rather be crazy. Hold up, they don't love you like I love you. Slow down, they don't love you like I love you. Back up, they don't love you like I love you. Step down, they don't love you like I love you. Can't you see there's no other man above you? What a wicked way to treat the girl that loves you. Hold up, they don't love you like I love you. Slow down, they don't love you like I love you. Let's imagine for a moment that you never made a name for yourself, a master wealth. They had you labeled as a king. Never made it out the cage, still out there moving in them streets. Never had the baddest woman in the game up in your sheets. Would they be down to ride now? They used to hide to you, but y'all know we were made for each other, so I find you and hold you down. Missing say, hold up, they don't love you like I love you. Slow down, they don't love you like I love you. Back up, they don't love you like I love you. Step down, they don't love you like I love you. Can't you see there's no other man above you? What a wicked way to treat the girl that loves you. Hold up, they don't love you like I love you. Slow down, they don't love you like I love you. It's such a shame you let this good love go to waste.
I know it feels sacrilege to stop Beyonce, but we must. Even though Beyonce and her creative collaborators daringly offer multidimensional images of Black female life, much of the album stays within a conventional stereotypical framework, where the Black woman is always a victim. The story is as old as the ballad of Frankie and Johnny. He was my man, all right, but he done me wrong. Like the fictional Frankie, Beyonce's character responds to her man's betrayal with rage. Like Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries, she destroys with no shame. Among the many mixed messages embedded in Lemonade is this celebration of rage. Smug and smiling in her golden garb, Beyonce is the embodiment of fantastical female power, which is thus that, pure fantasy. Images of female violence undercut a central message. And that was an excerpted from an essay written by the inimitable feminist Bell Hooks. And as a result of this publication that she wrote after the Lemonade visual album came out, there was a round table of, air quotes, new feminists that's talked about this interesting response. And there's a new scholar who made a response that I want to share next. So her name is Jen Johnson, and her response, and in particular at this round table, not only were there other women who I list themselves as feminists, there were also men and queer men who were at that table. So that's relevant when you hear some of the comments. My issue with Hooks' critique here is that while many of her concerns are valid, they do not make room for the particular feminism of a star like Beyonce. Just as we want so badly for Hooks to make space for Beyonce, why haven't we also critically engaged each other by questioning the ways that we don't even give space to one another, or how we make space for others who are too situated in patriarchal formations just by their identities alone? It matters who is propped up to speak on behalf of whom, just as it matters who is and is not invited to the table at all, or in this case, who gets to make the lemonade. Our desire to resist the echo chamber shouldn't be aimed at only patriarchy or mainstream white feminism or capital or academics. It should be as intersectional as our lived experiences. the idea of intersectionality, I know it's been a trending topic and in the conversation. It's definitely in academic spaces. And I love this image because it shows all these different color lines and how they cross intersect. And even though it's a heady discussion, intersectionality, it is a reality of how we live. No one is any one thing. And sometimes those intersections do make for do plot out how we navigate this world, this experience we're all having together. With those two essays as an example, you have two Black women who identify as feminists, and they also couldn't be more different. And if nothing else, generationally, they are standing on the same corner, but on the same side, still opposite parts of the street. And that's this work that we're doing can be that simple and also that complicated. Right? So you are all the different ways. I can make a list of examples, but I'd like for you to choose one of those intersections and visibly imagine that I'm this corner and I am a woman, but across from me is another woman who's in her 20s, who's going to have a different experience. And across the street is someone else who's my age, but is a different gender. And on this other corner, and those things matter. And the other part about in thinking about the visuals of intersections is what's standing behind you. What is the scenery that's behind you that you may not be aware of because it's behind you, but it is definitely part of your whole landscape. So in thinking about that a bit, I'm going to put you back in groups and choose one of your intersections. It might be because you're a mom and you're also an entrepreneur. It might be because you're left-handed, but I don't know. There are so many ways of all the ways we are. And navigating those intersections is where we all have an opportunity for us to be better together. So I'm gonna put you in groups and again, no answers. You're not curing world hunger. You're not eliminating racism. We're just having a conversation about our lived experiences of what it's like to be the leader of the church group, but you also love your whiskey. I don't know. I'm just putting ideas in your conversation. We're gonna go into groups and see what happens. Okay, I think we have everyone back. I want to thank you for giving me a few extra minutes, and I sincerely am sorry for anyone if you didn't get a chance to share. That is one of my favorite parts, how you fall into these unexpected conversations and planting these little nuggets along the way that give you a chance to be reflective, to be humble, to be curious, and to never, ever, ever be wrong, because you're speaking what's happening right then in your head and your heart. I also want to give everyone opportunity to kind of close out this space. One really quick within this, your prompts, you have projects, you can meditate, you can trade this work. And I hope that you'll continue working on these beginnings, these new threads of ideas. And again, just thank you for making time to be here. So before we close out, I like to ask people to share what I call a power word. So it could be one word, one thought that will just close out the space. So we've heard a lot of my voice. So I'm going to go to my right and start with Cassie. If there's something you'd like to share with the group or anything you'd like to say that was particularly that inspired you today, or an idea you know that you work with. Oh, the chat thread, even better. Thank you. But I'll take your voice. Go ahead, Cassie. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say intersections. That just moved me, and it helped me to actually reflect on something that had recently happened. So thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you. Adrian?
The idea of remapping those intersections.
Remapping. I like that. Lucy Rose. And Karen shared owning one story. Cheryl says intuition. Kathleen, what's a power word or a thought from you?
I'll speak. I'll cheat and say too, the humble and amazed at what happens when you have unexpected conversations, like we did in the intersection breakup. Thanks.
Thank you. And Kelly. What's behind you? Woo! I know, right? Because it's I'm not thinking about that. And when we start thinking about that.
I really like that comment. It's just, it says so much. And I think everyone that was on this could go really far with that. Thank you.
Most excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And we're going to turn it back over to the Central Book, the festival.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Dasha, this has been great. And I don't think I know all of you got something out of it that you can carry with you from here on out, whether you choose to, whether you've just created your own spark for your own poem or novel, or if it's just something for yourself. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just a reminder, we do have a couple more public events scheduled with Dasha. She will be at the Portage County Public Library in Stevens Point tonight on her own, doing an event at 7 p.m. If anybody who's tuned in today is in our central Wisconsin area. She will also be at the Whitewater Music Hall in Wausau tomorrow night at 7 for another event there. And tomorrow night, she will be joined by the first ever newly named Wausau Poet Laureate, Don Anderson. So the two of them will be talking with each other and with us about their work and sharing their work and talking with us about what a laureate does. So we've got a couple more of those. So thank you very much once again. Dasha, if you can hang on just a minute or so, I have just one more question for you, but that's it for everybody else. So thank you so much once again for tuning in and for being part of the Central Wisconsin Book Festival. So, yep, I sent an email to Eddie over at Point, Dasha, and asked about projector. He says, I do think we have a paper flip chart. Otherwise, we for sure have a multimedia projector with laptop, and we actually have an overhead projector. Is that kind of what you were thinking, or? Oh, hold on a second, you're muted. There we go.
Yes, that'd be perfect. I just had a that'd be better if we can do that.
The overhead projector?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much.
Wonderful, thank you.
Get a little rest and we'll see you tonight.
See you tonight.
All right, bye-bye.